Two brothers with intellectual disabilities signed confessions for a murder they did not commit. Henry McCollum was 19. His half-brother Leon Brown was 15. Both scored below 70 on IQ tests. Neither had a lawyer present during interrogation. The document Henry signed included a line admitting he could not read it. Detectives read the words aloud and told him that if he confessed, he could go home. After hours in a room in Red Springs, North Carolina in 1983, with no food and no counsel, he signed anyway. He did not go home. He was sent to death row. Leon went to prison for life. The victim, 11-year-old Sabrina Buie, was found in a soybean field with a sock forced into her throat. The scene was brutal. The evidence was physical and finite. The confessions were not. Henry McCollum spent 31 years on death row, the longest term served by any inmate in North Carolina, kept under the constant shadow of an electric chair photograph placed by guards as a warning. In 2014, a DNA test would identify the real killer, a man who had been in prison the entire time. The interrogations lasted hours and produced statements that collapsed under basic scrutiny. Neither brother was allowed to call their mother. Neither was offered adequate food or a break. Henry later described detectives instructing him to say what they wanted to hear, so he could leave. He was young, disabled, newly arrived from New Jersey, and alone with officers who had already presumed guilt. The confessions contradicted one another, and contradicted the physical evidence. Timelines did not match the coroner's findings. Named accomplices were never found, and descriptions of the crime scene failed to align with forensic facts. None of these inconsistencies prevented conviction. Henry was sentenced to death. Leon received life imprisonment. At sentencing, the judge told Henry he was getting what he deserved. The case rose to national attention, and in an astonishing turn, was cited in 1994 by Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia as an example of a just execution. No correction or acknowledgement followed when the convictions were later overturned. The system failed in predictable and preventable ways, and the human cost is difficult to quantify. Henry learned to read while incarcerated. He taught himself to draw and paint, and wrote hundreds of letters insisting on his innocence. Leon, in general population, received far less legal focus and suffered greater exposure to prison violence and isolation, leaving scars that endured beyond release. The decisive turn in this story, its largest, most consequential reveal, came not from testimony, but from DNA. A cigarette butt recovered at the scene yielded genetic material that matched Roscoe Artis, a man convicted in 1984 of a nearly identical rape and murder committed weeks after Sabrina Buie's death, less than a mile away. Artis had been a suspect in 1983 but was set aside during the original investigation. He had been incarcerated for years. He remained in custody while two boys paid the price for a thread investigators never followed. Confronted with the DNA evidence in 2014, Artis acknowledged acting alone. Henry McCollum walked out of Central Prison in Raleigh on September 2nd, 2014, 31 years, 1 month, and 17 days after his arrest, squinting at a sky he had never learned to navigate on the outside. The aftermath offers a ledger of partial accountability and enduring questions. North Carolina awarded Henry and Leon the statutory maximum for wrongful conviction, $750,000 each, roughly $24,000 per year of wrongful imprisonment. The detectives who conducted the interrogations were never charged. Prosecutors involved in the case faced no discipline. The judge who imposed the death sentence on a 19-year-old intellectually disabled man received no sanction. Reforms followed: limited changes to interrogation procedures for juveniles and individuals with intellectual disabilities, but advocates call them insufficient. Henry says he does not feel safe. He carries nightmares of death row and struggles to translate 31 years into language others will understand. Leon continues to cope with the trauma of long incarceration. The central institutional question remains unanswered. Why did investigators abandon a viable suspect and pursue two boys who could not read their own confessions? Subscribe to Case Files TV, because Henry McCollum is still waiting for that answer.